The lesson of limitations. The Galactic Academy of Martial Disciplines towered like a steel mountain over the plains of Rylos, 5, its surface glittering under twin suns. Hundreds of species crossed its halls every year, clawed, scaled, feathered exoskeleton, each pursuing mastery of combat arts honed over millennia. But among them walked only one human. Cadet Ilera Hayes adjusted her training gauntlets as she entered Hall 7. The dome shimmered with hollow emitters and polished weapon racks. Alien cadets murmured when they saw her, the sounds ranging from hisses to harmonic clicks. Humans were still newcomers in the Galactic Coalition, and no one quite knew what to make of them. Too soft-skinned, too short-lived, too unpredictable. At the center of the hall stood Instructor Vorthka, a towering Xerex warrior with 6 chitin-plated limbs and a voice that thrummed like vibrating steel. 4 blades rested on the floor before him, each shaped for a different species. "Cadets," he announced, 2 of his eyes sweeping the group, while the other 2 remained fixed on the weapons. "Today we address the most dangerous misconception in melee combat, dual-wielding." The hall quieted. Even the ambient hum of the hollow lights felt muted. No species, no matter their biology, can safely wield 2 blades in battle. Vorthka tapped a long digit against the nearest sword. "Your neural processing cannot track 2 independent attack vectors. Your bodies cannot maintain centerline balance. Your instincts will falter. You will overextend, trip, and die faster than if you entered battle unarmed." He waited for the statement to settle like a judge pronouncing a verdict. Ilera's brow creased. Back on Earth, she'd watched videos of historical fencers and Arnie's practitioners spinning twin weapons like wind. Maybe it wasn't common anymore, but impossible? That word always chafed. One of the Aryan cadets, Talon, raised a wing hand. "Instructor, is this a universal law?" "Yes," Vorthka replied. "It is absolute. Attempts are prohibited outside controlled demonstrations." Rivik, the Gorvian sitting beside Ilera, smirked. "Hear that, human? No tricks today." Ilera ignored him and lifted her chin. "Instructor Vorthka," she said, voice steady. "Has a human ever attempted it?" The hall froze. A few tentacles twitched. Several pupils widened. Vorthka's top eyes narrowed. "Humans are a Tier 2 combatant species. Your reflexes are fast, yes. Your adaptability is noteworthy. But your physiology does not exempt you from fundamental universal limitations." She swallowed. "I'm not suggesting it does. I'm asking whether anyone has tried." Vorthka let out a resonance that might have been a laugh. "If your species possessed such an ability, Earth would not have been relegated to observational warfare for 200 years. You are not built for dual-vector combat." Ilera didn't argue. She simply listened as he continued the lesson, demonstrating how a second blade disrupts balance by showing exaggerated movements. He moved with the confidence of someone who had lectured this topic for decades. To the other cadets, the explanation was unquestionable. But Ilera felt something itching in the back of her mind. Every motion Vorthka made seemed designed for species with exoskeletal rigidity, with fixed limb rotation, with heavy torsos or elongated balancing tails. The more he explained why 2 blades were impossible, the more she wondered if the problem wasn't the weapons, but the species attempting them. After drills began, Ilera threw herself into the session. Vorthka guided them through single-weapon forms and defensive pivots. She excelled in reflex tests, darting between hollow strikes faster than even the avian cadets. Talon gave her an approving nod. Rivik gave her an irritated glare. When the session paused for hydration, Ilera drifted toward the weapons rack. 2 slim practice swords lay side by side. One slightly curved, one straight, each balanced differently. Her hand hovered over them. "Cadet Hayes." Vorthka's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Leave those." She turned. "Sir, I wasn't. I know what you were considering." His lower arms folded across his chest. "Your curiosity is admirable, but curiosity kills more warriors than cowardice." Ilera straightened. "I just want to understand why it's impossible." Vorthka stepped closer, casting a long shadow over her. Because the laws of motion do not bend for ambition. Weapons require respect, and warriors require discipline. His voice softened a fraction. You are talented. Do not squander that. He moved away to address another cadet, but the weight of his words lingered like a chain around her wrists. As the drills resumed, Elara obeyed the instructor and focused on single sword forms. But every time her blade struck a hollow target, she imagined the path of another sword following through. Her brain constructed patterns her body was forbidden to attempt. Footwork rhythm, angle differentiation, dual-line reprisal. The ideas pulled at her like gravity. When the session ended, the cadets filed out. Elara stayed behind. She stood alone before the rack, staring at the twin swords. Her reflection shimmered in their training alloy, a human face among hundreds of alien silhouettes. She reached out. Her fingers closed around both hilts. At first the weight felt strange, but not unmanageable. Her wrists adjusted. Her stance shifted to compensate. Her breath slowed, instincts searching for equilibrium. She raised both blades. For a moment, she felt balance. Not perfection, but potential. Not mastery, but possibility. Then she heard Instructor Vorthka's earlier words echo in her ear. Do not attempt to redefine what the galaxy already knows. Elara lowered the swords, but she didn't put them back. She whispered to herself, quiet enough that only the empty hall could hear it. Impossible is just a challenge waiting for a human. And with that, she slipped the blades into the training slot and walked out, the idea burning in her chest like the first spark of a coming fire. The human who would not accept no. The academy lights dimmed after dusk, leaving long shadows stretching across the corridors like silent watchmen. Curfew had passed, training halls were locked, and most cadets had retreated to rest chambers. But Elara Hayes never returned to hers. Instead, she stood outside Hollow Chamber 14, a small maintenance unit rarely used. With a cautious glance down the corridor, she slipped a bypass chip into the console. The door hissed open. Inside, the chamber flickered awake, projecting a neutral grid across the walls. Elara exhaled. The two practice sword sheets smuggled earlier lay waiting on the floor. You're really doing this, she whispered to herself, equal parts nervous and determined. She activated a simple humanoid simulation, slow, predictable, ideal for experimentation. As she bent down and lifted both blades. The moment she took her stance, the imbalance hit her. Her arms felt pulled in opposite directions, her center of gravity wrong. The first attack from a simulation arrived as a glowing arc. Elara stepped forward, swung the right blade, and promptly smacked the left arm with her other sword. Ow! She hissed and stumbled, nearly falling. The simulation paused, as if confused by her incompetence. Elara reset. Again, she moved, this time avoiding self-injury, but her footwork tangled, and the blades scraped together in a jarring clash. Her wrist ached. Her arms shook. Every motion felt like her body was trying to learn 3 skills at once. She tried again, and again, and again. Failure piled on failure, and sweat dripped from her jawline onto the glowing grid. Her breath grew ragged, but her eyes sharpened. Humans weren't the strongest or fastest species, but they could repeat something until it became instinct. Adaptation wasn't a gift, it was survival. Hours passed. Her movements improved, fraction by fraction. Left block, right strike. Right feint, left cross. Dual parry. In time, the blades no longer collided. Her feet no longer tangled. She wasn't graceful yet, but she wasn't hopeless either. She could feel the rhythm forming, like a song her muscles were slowly learning to sing. But the session took its toll. Her wrists throbbed. Her arms trembled. When she finally ended the simulation, she was drenched and barely able to hold the swords. She wiped her forehead, panting. Better, she muttered. Still terrible, but better. As she exited the chamber, she thought of Earth, her brother teaching her stick fighting in a cluttered garage, laughter echoing as she struggled to keep pace. 2 weapons, 2 minds, he told her. Stop thinking of them as separate. Let them become one idea. Now, half a galaxy away, she tried to recall the feeling. The next morning, the cadets gathered for drills. Alara moved stiffly, her arms screaming with every strike. But she kept silent. She wasn't about to let exhaustion betray her secret. Rivik, the Gorvian, grinned wickedly as he noticed her wince. "Human, what were you doing last night? Wrestling gravity? Didn't sleep well?" Alara replied flatly. "Humans rarely do," Rivik said smugly. Several cadets laughed. Alara ignored them, but she noticed Instructor Vorthka watching her more closely than usual. By midday, Alara's fatigue showed. Her form wavered. Her timing slipped. After a misstep that nearly cost her fingers, Vorthka called a break and waved her over. "You are unfocused," he said. "Explain." "I'm fine," Alara replied quickly. "Incorrect." Vorthka flexed two arms at his sides, a Xerex sign of impatience. "Either your mind is scattered or your body is overtaxed. Which is it?" Alara hesitated. "I may be overworking." Vorthka tilted his head. "Explain how." She said nothing. Silence stretched between them, tense as a drawn bowstring. Vorthka gestured abruptly. "Follow." He led her into a side chamber, the same training hall she'd slipped into the previous night. When the lights flickered on, the room revealed something Alara hadn't expected. The swords she'd used were lying exactly where she dropped them, but someone had repositioned the floor sensors. Vorthka stepped past her and lifted one of the blades. "You left marks," he said calmly. Alara's heart stopped. "Sir, you disobeyed protocol." His voice, though quiet, was heavy. "And you attempted the most dangerous forbidden technique in this academy." She stood rigid, guilt burning through her. He circled her slowly. "Why?" Alara clenched her jaw. "Because you said no species can dual-wield. And maybe none of them can. But humans are different. Not better, just different." "Different enough to break universal limitations?" he asked. Alara swallowed. "Maybe. I don't know yet. But I want to find out. And I'm willing to put in the work." Vorthka watched her, her eyes unreadable. Then he pointed to the swords. "Pick them up." Alara blinked. "Sir, pick them up." She obeyed, lifting both blades and taking the stance she had practiced alone. "Hold it for 30 seconds, Vorthka commanded. "Do not drop. Do not falter." She tightened her grip. Her arms trembled. Her balance wavered. But she held. 20 seconds in, sweat trickled down her neck. 28 seconds, her legs shook. 30 seconds. She exhaled sharply as Vorthka nodded. "You lasted longer than I expected," he admitted. "But strength without mastery is chaos. And chaos gets warriors killed." "I can learn," she said quietly. He stepped back, never breaking eye contact. "Perhaps. But if you fail, it will be on my record. My responsibility. My burden." Alara lowered the sword slightly. "Then let me try without making it yours." Vorthka's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "No. If a challenge is to be attempted, it must be done under guidance." Her eyes widened. "Sir, are you saying—" "I am saying," Vorthka interrupted, "that if you insist on chasing a myth, then you will not do it alone." A breath escaped her. Relief, shock, gratitude, all tangled together. He added, "Return here tonight. If you're truly determined, we will see whether humans are merely reckless or truly exceptional." Alara nodded, heart pounding. She wasn't alone anymore. Tonight, impossible would take another step toward becoming real. The duel of the Academy. Night fell again over the Galactic Academy, cloaking its vast training complex under the glow of twin moons. Alara returned to Holochamber 14 exactly as instructed, nerves tightening like wire beneath her skin. When the door opened, Instructor Vorthka was already waiting, arms folded, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You're late," he said. "I'm 3 minutes early, sir." "Late," he repeated, though one of his eyes twitched in amusement. "Take your position." Alara stepped onto the grid, while Vorthka activated the simulation wall. A dozen hollow targets emerged, glowing outlines of humanoid attackers, programmed with unpredictable motion. "Today," he said, "we test your reaction patterns. Humans learn quickly, but speed without structure is accident." He gestured to the swords on the floor. Begin. Alara gripped both hilts and exhaled. When the first target lunged, she moved. Right blade blocked. Left blade swept low. A pivot, a twist, a crossbody slash. Her motions weren't perfect. Her footing slipped here and there, but she adapted mid-stride, turning errors into new pathways. Her blades no longer collided. Her body remembered angles her mind couldn't fully articulate. Vorthka studied her with unreadable intensity. After 20 minutes, he halted the simulation. Your species is peculiar, he said. That's a compliment. I think. It is not. He pointed at her stance. You're compensating instinctively for instability. Humans adjust faster than any species I have trained, even those with neural triprocessing. It is as if you learn new balance patterns between heartbeats. Alara lowered her blades. So dual-wielding isn't impossible. It is impossible, Vorthka said firmly. But you're beginning to make it unlikely. Before Alara could respond, the chamber door slammed open. Rivik stomped inside, flanked by 2 other cadets. His heavy footsteps shook the floor. Instructor, he barked. I saw lights. Are you training the human privately? Vorthka's tone became cold steel. You will address me with respect, cadet. Rivik bowed his head, just enough not to earn discipline. Sir, the interspecies trial duels are tomorrow. The human has requested dual blades. That is against tradition and against reason. Alara straightened. The charter allows weapon variations. Rivik sneered. No one takes it seriously. It's meant for grip adaptations, not, he gestured at her, this species' delusions. Vorthka stepped forward. Cadet Hayes has demonstrated competence beyond expectation. If she enters the duel with 2 blades, it is sanctioned. Rivik glared at Alara. Then let me face her. I will expose this foolish experiment before she embarrasses the academy. Vorthka's upper limbs spread in warning. Be careful with your pride, Rivik. Humans have a habit of humbling species twice their size. Rivik growled but backed away. Vorthka dismissed him with a wave and turned back to Alara. Tomorrow will be difficult. Every species will watch. You will not win unless you embrace your atypical instincts. Alara nodded. Then teach me how to lean into them. For the next hour, training intensified. Vorthka ran her through rotational footwork, forced her into destabilizing angles, and introduced cross-trajectory counters. Alara stumbled often, but each fall taught her something new. By the time she left, her muscles burned and her mind felt stretched thin, but she walked taller. The next morning, the academy buzzed with electric anticipation. The annual interspecies trial duels were a tradition cherished across the coalition, non-lethal exhibitions of skill meant to showcase the next generation of warriors. Today, however, the crowd whispered about only one thing. The human will fight with 2 blades. Some laughed at the novelty. Others murmured that it was reckless. A few wondered if humans were more dangerous than they seemed. Alara entered the arena, armored in standard academy plating. 2 swords hung at her sides, polished, balanced, and glinting under the arena lights. Gasps rippled through the spectators. Talon, the Aryan cadet, called from the benches, Alara, try not to trip, yes. Rivik, waiting on the opposite side of the arena, cracked his knuckles deliberately. This ends quickly. Vorthka approached her from the sidelines. Remember your training, he said quietly. Flow, not force. Mind your center. Trust your instincts. Alara nodded, gripping both hilts. The duel began with a thunderous chime. Rivik charged immediately, massive and aggressive, swinging a heavy blade meant to crush rather than slice. Alara sidestepped and countered, but her rhythm wasn't yet fully settled. Her second blade lagged, almost dragging behind her. Rivik laughed. You see, 2 weapons make you slow. Alara breathed through the stumbling start. Flow, not force. When Rivik came again, she shifted differently. She let her body react, not through thought, but through instinct. Her right blade intercepted the blow. Her left blade struck low. Rivik recoiled, surprised. He attacked harder. Alara adapted faster. Every step, every swing, recalibrated her balance. Dual angles opened opportunities no single sword could. She blocked high with one blade, while slicing diagonally with the other. She parried when he expected retreat. She advanced when he expected evasion. Rivik's expression morphed from arrogance to confusion. "What are you?" She closed the distance suddenly, pivoted past him, and with a spiral motion she'd practiced tirelessly, she hooked both blades into his and twisted. The Gorvian's weapon tore free and clattered across the arena. The crowd erupted. Alara stood panting softly, blades poised. Rivik knelt in stunned silence. The adjudicator declared, "Victory, Cadet Alara Hayes. First recorded dual-blade win in Academy history." Alara turned toward the stands. Vorthka was watching her, not with pride, but with something deeper. Recognition. Humans weren't breaking rules. They were rewriting what was possible, redefining the impossible. The arena roared like a living storm. What had begun as a control trial within the Academy's training dome had transformed into a spectacle that pulled in half the station. Cadets filled the tiered balconies, instructors lined the command dais, and even members of the High Council observed from behind their shimmering shielded booth. All because of one human. Kael stood in the center of the dueling platform, each sword humming with calibrated training energy, their blades alive with red and blue light. His chest rose and fell with steady control, pupils focused, mind locked into that razor-thin place between instinct and calculation. Around him, a dozen hollow drones glided into formation, each programmed to replicate different alien combat styles, each pushing the boundaries of cadet-level tests. But none of that mattered. Not to him. Not anymore. Across the arena, Commander Vesh stood stiff, jaw tight, arms folded. The instructor's crest dimmed, the Vorton equivalent of swallowing pride. Several hours earlier, he had spoken a universal rule. No species can dual-wield. Kael had shattered that belief like glass. Vesh raised one hand, signaling the start of the final demonstration. "Kael of Earth," he called, his voice echoing through the dome. "You have claimed mastery of a discipline no species has achieved. Your previous trial proved capability. This one will determine whether your claim becomes doctrine." The cadets leaned forward. Kael only nodded. The command lights pulsed green. "Engage." The arena erupted. The first drone attacked with serrated plasma feathers, an avian-style dive strike. Kael pivoted left, his red blade sweeping upward to deflect the incoming arc sparks scattered across the air as he used his momentum to spin, bringing the blue blade around in a tight, controlled slash that clipped the drone's flank. It flickered, but continued. Another descended from the right, launching a rapid tri-strike pattern modeled after the Vorton. Kael crossed both blades behind his back, caught the first hit, unwound with a powerful twist, and struck with a mirrored counter. Red slicing upward, blue cutting horizontally. The crowd gasped as the drone staggered. Yet more approached, for this time, converging with synchronized aggression. Kael dropped low, his blades dancing in alternating arcs, each movement seamlessly feeding into the next. His strikes weren't symmetrical or rigid. They were fluid, more like twin currents than twin weapons. Every alien species watching could see it. He wasn't disobeying the laws of physics. He was using different ones. The Tesk warriors in the stands murmured in disbelief. Their species prided itself on forearm sword discipline. Yet even they could not execute an unbroken double-channeling stance without fracturing muscle fibers. Kael handled it as if born to it. And in truth, he had been, just not in the way they thought. In the command dais, Instructor Vesh watched with clenched claws. His eyes traced every movement, analyzing patterns, searching for cracks, any hint of strain or imbalance. The doctrine he had taught for decades hinged on a simple truth. Two-channel weapon styles were inherently unstable. The neural load too high, the physical strain too great, reaction times too slow. But the human exhibited none of those limitations. "Impossible," Vesh muttered. Beside him, Counselor Rin, an elder with iridescent scales that shifted with emotion, observed quietly. "Perhaps," she said, "what is impossible for us is merely unfamiliar to him." Vesh bristled. No species has the neurological split capacity for simultaneous dual-weapon threat processing. Humans do, she said. How? Because they evolved to use tools before they evolved caution. Back on the arena floor, Kael vaulted over a lunging drone, blades crossing as he delivered a downward strike that sent shockwaves rippling through the projection. It collapsed with a crackle of failing light. 9 drones remained, then 8, then 6. The arena fed them harder tactics, armored charges, evasive maneuvers, aerial bombardment simulations. Kael adapted with near-inhuman fluidity. Sweat gathered at his brow, but his breathing stayed even, posture grounded. Each blade moved with purpose, red for aggressive counters, blue for precision control. Dual-wielding wasn't just holding 2 swords. It was letting 2 tactical minds operate in one body. He danced between the drones like a whirlwind with a heartbeat, blades flashing, footsteps echoing across the platform as each opponent fell in a shower of sparks. Finally, the last drone engaged, a heavy Varaxian brute model with reinforced shielding and aggressive weight-based tactics. Many cadets failed this drone alone. Kael surged forward. Its massive arm swung. He ducked beneath the blow and slammed the blue blade into its joint, destabilizing its pivot. He pushed off the floor, twisting into the air, and brought both swords down in a cross strike that split its shield in 2. The drone powered down, collapsing. Silence consumed the arena. Then it shattered into a tidal wave of cheering. Cadets of every species rose from their seats, shouting, clicking, stomping, vibrating, whatever their kind used to express awe. Even hardened warriors stared in stunned reverence. Kael stood with both swords at his sides, chest rising, shoulders squared, gaze steady. He didn't bask in the praise. He simply existed in the moment, calm and centered. Commander Vesh descended from the dais, walking across the arena floor slowly. His heavy footsteps echoed as he approached Kael. The cadets fell silent. Vesh stopped a few paces away. His crest dimmed in humility. "I said no species could dual-wield," he declared. "I was wrong." Kael inclined his head, accepting without arrogance. Vesh lifted one clawed hand toward the crowd. "Let this stand as the revision of our doctrine. The impossible has been redefined by a human." A roar thundered through the dome. Later, as the crowd dispersed and the arena dimmed into its standby glow, Kael remained alone on the platform. He sheathed both swords and looked out into the silent space. He hadn't done this to prove his species superior. He'd done it because someone said he couldn't. For humans, that was the quickest way to guarantee they would. He whispered to the empty air, "Impossible isn't a rule. It's a challenge." And somewhere deep within the station, that truth began reshaping the Academy's future.